Have you ever sat alone at your kitchen table, sipping your morning tea, and felt like the silence around you was just a little too loud? Like something was missing, even if everything seemed fine on the outside? If you've ever had that feeling, I want you to know you are absolutely not alone. Living alone after 70 can be both peaceful and challenging. For some, it's a time of freedom. No more noise, no more schedules, no one else's needs before your own. But for many others, those same empty rooms, the quiet nights, and the still mornings can start to feel heavy. And that sense of loneliness, it creeps in quietly, like a fog, and can be hard to shake off. The truth is, we don't talk about this enough. People over 70 are more likely than any other age group to live alone. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it can be empowering. It also comes with risks. Loneliness isn't just an emotional thing. It affects our health, our memory, our sleep, even our heart. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be that way. Not at all. There are powerful, practical ways to stay not just content, but truly happy, even if you're living by yourself. And today, I want to share some of those with you. Not the same old advice you've heard 100 times, but real, doable steps that can make your days feel full of meaning, joy, and connection again. Have you ever sat alone at your kitchen table, sipping your morning tea, and felt like the silence around you was just a little too loud? Like something was missing, even if everything seemed fine on the outside? If you've ever had that feeling, I want you to know, you are absolutely not alone. Living alone after 70 can be both peaceful and challenging. For some, it's a time of freedom. No more noise, no more schedules, no one else's needs before your own. But for many others, those same empty rooms, the quiet nights, and the still mornings can start to feel heavy. And that sense of loneliness, it creeps in quietly, like a fog, and can be hard to shake off. The truth is, we don't talk about this enough. People over 70 are more likely than any other age group to live alone. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it can be empowering. It also comes with risks. Loneliness isn't just an emotional thing. It affects our health, our memory, our sleep, even our heart. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be that way. Not at all. There are powerful, practical ways to stay not just content, but truly happy, even if you're living by yourself. And today, I want to share some of those with you. Not the same old advice you've heard 100 times, but real, doable steps that can make your days feel full of meaning, joy, and connection again. Let's talk about something most people overlook: the small rituals. When you're living alone, your routine becomes your anchor. But sometimes, that same routine can become a rut. You wake up, eat, maybe turn on the TV, take a short walk, maybe talk to someone on the phone, and then it's dinner time, and repeat. Days can blur into each other if there's no spark in between. So here's the first key to staying happy alone after 70. Reclaim your mornings with intention. Instead of letting the day start at you, start for yourself. Even something as simple as sitting by a sunny window with your favorite cup of tea and a journal can set the tone. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that would make me feel proud? It doesn't have to be big. It could be organizing a drawer, baking something you haven't in years, writing a letter to someone you miss. That spark of purpose, it changes everything. When you live alone, no one else sets the pace for your day. That can be a gift if you take control of it. The moment you decide you're in charge of how your day feels, things begin to shift. You start living with your day, not just passing time. Another thing that helps more than most people realize is movement, but not in the go to the gym kind of way. I mean joyful movement, the kind that puts a smile on your face. Maybe it's a gentle stretch while listening to your favorite old songs. Maybe it's walking through your garden, or even just dancing around your living room for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to look like exercise. It just has to feel like aliveness. Moving your body sends a message to your mind. I'm still here. I'm still capable. I still matter. And when you live alone, reminding yourself of that becomes so important. Movement gives you energy, yes, but it also gives you confidence. And sometimes that's the first step to feeling happy again. Now, I know one of the hardest parts about living alone, especially after a certain age, is that the phone stops ringing as much. People get busy, families grow up, old friends move away or, sadly, pass on. And the silence can feel like rejection, even when we know deep down it's not personal. But here's something powerful to remember. Connection doesn't always have to come from others reaching out to us first. The third way to beat loneliness after 70 is to become the one who reaches out. Yes, it takes courage. Yes, it can feel awkward at first. But you'd be amazed at how often people are just waiting for someone else to go first. Call that neighbor you always wave at but never talk to. Write a letter to an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. Or start saying yes to community groups, even if it means trying something new like a gardening club or a walking group. And if you're thinking, I'm too old to be making new friends, let me stop you right there. That's simply not true. You are never too old to find companionship, laughter, or meaningful connection. I've seen 75-year-olds find brand new circles of friends that light up their lives. I've even seen people fall in love again in their 80s. Life is full of surprises, but only if you stay open to them. Sometimes, all it takes is a single hello to change the entire direction of your day, or even your life. And living alone doesn't have to mean living disconnected. In fact, some of the most connected people I know live by themselves because they've learned how to make connections something they create, not something they wait for. Sometimes, the hardest part of reaching out is not the act itself, but the fear behind it. That little voice that says, what if they don't respond? Or, what if I don't belong? But here's the thing. Those fears are often just echoes from the past. They don't have to shape your future. When we take small steps to connect, even in ways that seem insignificant, we begin to rewrite the story we tell ourselves about what's possible, about who we are now. And speaking of stories, that leads into something many people overlook when they talk about loneliness, the way we talk to ourselves. You see, when you live alone, you're not just spending time in a quiet house. You're also spending a lot of time with your own thoughts. And if you're not careful, those thoughts can start to wear you down. Things like, I'm no use to anyone anymore, or my best days are behind me. But that is not the truth. The fourth way to thrive alone after 70 is to nurture your inner voice with kindness. Think of how you'd speak to a dear friend who was feeling a little lost. You'd never say they were too old to matter or that no one cared about them. You'd tell them they were strong, valuable, and still full of life. So why not talk to yourself the same way? Start by noticing how you speak to yourself during the quiet moments. When you forget something, when you drop something, when you feel tired or emotional. Is your inner voice helping you or hurting you? Shifting that voice even slightly, from criticism to compassion, can completely change how it feels to be alone. You become your own best companion instead of your harshest judge. One beautiful way to begin this shift is through a practice that's been around for centuries: gratitude. Now, I know you've probably heard about keeping a gratitude journal before, but this isn't about writing a list and forgetting it. It's about slowing down, even for 5 minutes a day, and truly feeling grateful for something: a warm blanket, a blooming flower outside your window, a memory that makes you smile. Gratitude changes the chemistry of your brain. It softens the edges of loneliness. It reminds you that beauty still exists, even in the smallest corners of life. And speaking of beauty, when was the last time you created something just for the joy of it? Not to be productive, not to impress anyone, but simply to play? This brings us to something surprisingly powerful: finding a creative outlet. Whether it's painting, knitting, writing poems, baking, or even building something in the shed. It's not about talent, it's about expression. It's about turning your emotions into something tangible, something that says, "I'm still here and I have something to say." Creativity keeps your mind sharp. It gives you a sense of purpose. And even more than that, it can connect you with others. You'd be amazed at the online communities, local classes, or hobby groups out there where people of all ages are sharing their creations, offering encouragement, and building friendships along the way. Don't worry if you haven't picked up a paintbrush in 50 years, or if your hands aren't as steady as they used to be. What matters is the act, not the result. The joy is in the process. In those moments, you stop being someone living alone and become an artist, a maker, a storyteller. And that identity brings joy like nothing else. And here's a little secret: when you're doing something you love, you naturally become more magnetic, more open, more alive. People are drawn to that energy. It opens doors you didn't even know were still waiting for you. Of course, even with all of this, morning rituals, joyful movement, reaching out, positive self-talk, and creative outlets, there will still be days that feel heavy. That's part of being human, no matter your age. And on those days, it's okay to simply sit with yourself and say, "Today is hard, but tomorrow might be better." Because that too is a kind of strength. On those quieter days, when the world feels a bit too still and you catch yourself staring out the window longer than usual, wondering what the rest of your life holds, remember this: you still get to write this chapter. And one of the most beautiful tools you have is something that often gets overlooked: routine. Now I know, routine doesn't sound very exciting, but let me ask you, how often have you gone through a whole day without a real sense of direction? No reason to get dressed, no one expecting you. The hours blur together, and by evening, you're left with that ache of time wasted, of energy drained by nothing in particular. That's why having a daily routine is so important when you're living alone, especially after 70. It gives structure, purpose, even comfort. Think of your routine like a rhythm that carries you through the day, not rigid, but gentle. You don't need to pack your day with dozens of tasks. Start with a few key anchors. Wake up around the same time each morning. Open the curtains. Let the light in. Stretch, breathe, make your bed. These small things signal to your brain, the day has begun, and I'm here to live it. Have a morning drink, maybe tea, coffee, or warm water with lemon. Sit down with a journal or a favorite book. Go for a walk if you can, or just step outside and feel the air on your face. And in the evening, Light a candle, play some calming music, or watch a show that brings you joy. These little rituals become your companions. They remind you that life still has rhythm and flow, even when you're by yourself. And as you build that routine, something magical begins to happen. You start to feel more in control, less like life is happening to you, and more like you're choosing how to live it. That feeling of control, of intention, can transform how you experience each day. But even with a comforting routine, it's natural to crave something deeper, a reason to get up in the morning that lights a spark inside you. And that brings us to one of the most powerful ways to beat loneliness and truly thrive, finding a sense of purpose. Now, purpose doesn't have to mean starting a business or volunteering every day. It doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes, purpose is found in caring for your garden, in mentoring a younger neighbor, in writing down your life stories for your grandchildren to read one day. It can even be found in something as simple as making someone smile once a day, even if it's the cashier at the market. When you wake up with a reason, no matter how small, you live differently. You carry yourself with more energy, more meaning. And the beautiful thing is, purpose has no expiration date. It doesn't retire when you do. It just evolves. Ask yourself, what do I love? What have I always wanted to try? Who could I help, even in a small way? Your answers might surprise you. And if you're not sure where to start, that's okay. Start by following your curiosity. Read something new. Take a free class online. Try something you've never done before, even if it feels a little awkward at first. The very act of trying builds confidence. It opens doors you didn't even know existed. And if you ever find yourself doubting whether you're still needed in this world, let me tell you now, you absolutely are. You have stories, wisdom, and love that this world still needs. You may not always see it, but someone out there is quietly hoping for someone just like you to show up. You've come this far with resilience, strength, and a heart that's still beating with possibility. That's something to be proud of. Living alone after 70 doesn't have to mean living lonely. With a little intention, a warm heart, and a willingness to keep reaching out, both to others and to yourself, you can build a life that's not just full, but joyful. So, here's to you. To mornings that begin with gratitude. To quiet afternoons filled with creativity. To walks that refresh your spirit. To routines that ground you. To friends, old or new, that make you laugh. And to the deep, steady knowledge that this chapter can be one of the richest yet. If any of this spoke to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What has helped you feel happier living alone? Let's share, encourage, and support each other, because no one is ever truly alone when we're in this together. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more uplifting tips, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Here's to living your best life, on your own, but never alone.